Episode number 14. This one's very unique. I can't wait for you guys to hear this one. Video coming out Tuesday. Be ready for it. I think you're going to really, really like what you're going to see. I've got two very, very important and well-known guests. One you probably hear a lot of in the news still, and one, the other guy, has been around the block in Hancock County for quite some time and is now doing some amazing things with the in the MLB and with his personal brand, the Fox Code. Joined by Kyle Gibson and JakeFox. Both have had very similar paths in their careers with professional baseball. Jake and Kyle both still in the professional baseball world, doing amazing things. So I appreciate them taking time to hop on here and spread some of their cheer and some of their career path and what led them from Hancock County to the big league. So appreciate you both joining me this afternoon.
Yeah, thanks, Mitch.
It's great to be here, man.
I guess to kind of get started, you guys grew up kind of childhood best friends, and you kind of thank the good Lord for baseball. I mean, it's amazing. I tell everybody all the time how baseball has brought me with connections, being just 24 years old and the connections that it's brought me so far. You guys are seeing it first at hand where you guys began knowing each other and where it's brought you down the career path of baseball. I guess, Kyle, if you wanted to share with everybody kind of how you and Jake grew up together, how you guys started, you knew each other. I think it started with your dad's coaching at Greenfield. So kind of kick it off there and where you guys began to start your relationship.
Yeah, well, my dad was a baseball coach. He was the assistant with Jake's dad, Terry, at Greenfield Central. From when I was a young age, that was some of my first baseball memories was, watching the practices and being around that. And Jake wasn't even a player then. His dad was just a coach, and they were just always had been around the game of baseball. So, and then Jake was just always somebody that as he got, more into high school and playing more baseball and his dad was coaching more and our families grew together, he was just somebody that I always looked up to because he was always where I wanted to be. And then when my sister started at Cathedral, Jake actually was already going there and he started driving Holly to school every day. So some of the best memories and the earliest ones I have is getting the call or hearing about the call that Jake and Holly are stranded on the interstate trying to drive to school because either snow or ran out of gas or something like that. So Jake has a lot of notorious times in the Gibson household, but it's just there's a lot of memories that go back to those times. And then as Jake went to Michigan, as people that watch the video, they're going to see the big M behind him. But, as he went to Michigan and, that was a place that I wanted to go. It wasn't because I love Michigan. It was because, we got to know Coach Maloney and Jake went there and we knew it was a great place. So I went up there to Michigan just to check it out and was close to going there. So it was just one of those things that, then as I got into professional baseball, Jake was always right there, ready to offer advice. And I remember, we were in the fall league and we went over to his house for dinner one night. He's getting ready for spring training and, it's just like there's a lot of things that go on, but he always made time for our family and always made time to help Holly or myself or even my parents out. And that's just how our families have been. So to be able to watch Jake's journey through the Cubs organization and I was a Cubs fan because of Jake. I was in Missouri watching the Cardinals win the World Series in 2006, and here I am with my Cubs hat on because Jake was on the Cubs. So, it's just one of those things that brought us together and keeps us tied and will keep our families close for life.
And just to kind of real quick, Jake, pause there. I know you're talking about you took Holly to school, and you guys were going to Cathedral at the time. I heard this on your most recent episode, and we'll get into the Fox Code and what you've got going on here very shortly in the show. But there's a story, and it's so funny because I think a lot of people know my Uncle Harold, and
of course,
how level-headed and straightforward he is, and you're not going to be able to get one side or the other on him. It's Harold's vision here. So knowing the strict and kind of tight leash he had on you, as I grew up kind of the same way with my parents. When you pulled up to the house one day to take Holly, or you guys were going to a football game or something, give us that story, because I think that it will make a lot of sense to a lot of people, especially with knowing Uncle Harold and how he is.
So there I was, and I like to start a lot of my stories with there I was, and I came up, and my dad was not very dissimilar. He was pretty strict on us too, and he always said with parenting, you want to be, as kids get older, you want to be more strict about less things. And my dad definitely was that, because he was strict when we were real young, but not extremely strict. But as we got older, he started being more strict about a lot less things. So that never that never intimidated me. Dad, Kyle, your dad obviously had a short leash on you, just like my dad had a short leash on us. So that was something that was never really intimidating me. You have respect for people, you go about your business the right way, but the people who know me too and know that I not only can I be stubborn and hard-headed, but I'm also a guy that loves to have a good time. I work hard, I have fun, and I think that the rest of life will take care of itself. And I think if you show up every day, you play hard, you have fun, then everything's kind of up to another power, if so to speak. So that day, I remember this day, I'm going to pick him up, and I was so pumped. It was great weather out, beautiful driving, sun shining. I'm like, you know what, I'm taking the top down on the Jeep, I'm taking the doors off. I'm like, this is going to be great. I haven't been able to have the this was state championship, right? Football. And so I'm taking all this stuff off. And anybody who's owned a Jeep knows it's not an easy process, right? It's a long process to get all that stuff down and off and all that. So I pull up and I'm excited. I'm excited to get Holly and Kyle in the car. We're going to drive. We're going to have some fun. Next thing you know, Harold comes out and is like, no, you're not doing that. You need to put your doors on. Right? You can't drive with the doors off like that. Because I had the coolest Jeep. I had these soft doors I could take on and off. Right. And so driving down the interstate, it's just open doors. My rule was have your seatbelt on, right? Have your seatbelt on and we're good. And so Harold's like, nope, you're not leaving here. You're not doing that. I'm like, all right, fine. So I'll put him back on. Right. So I put him on, and Kyle likes to tell a story like I had to stop and gas something. Like, no, not really. I didn't really need a gas or anything. I want to take the doors off. I'm sorry. I'm driving. I'm gone. You know, that what mama don't know can't hurt her. Right. So you took the doors off. We had a blast. Nobody got hurt. Everything went well. We had a lot of fun. But yes, I can still remember Kyle. I still remember looking in your face when I took them off. It's like, are we allowed to do that? Like, can we do that?
Are we gonna be okay? Is this all right?
It makes you
Because
think
if I'm not mistaken, I think when we left my house, we only had one door on. I don't think Jake put doors on. He's like, all right, fine, I'll put Kyle's door on, but I'm not gonna put my door on.
And you probably had to second guess yourself. Your mind was like, okay, I'm stopping this gas station to take these doors off. You probably did a quick turnaround to make sure Harold wasn't driving behind you to make sure you didn't do that.
Right, well, exactly.
I'm going to tell you, I'm going to go ahead and disagree. I don't know if Harold's the one I'm more worried about. I think Sharon's the one I'm more worried about. I think she's the one that strikes me as the one that could be the one you have to reckon with.
That's awesome.
I mean, in certain times, maybe.
That's right. Well, I appreciate you sharing that story. That's just something that I had heard, and I'd never heard that story before. And I've heard quite a bit of stories that from your family, Kyle, and that's probably not the last one we'll ever hear. But I heard that one, and I was like, okay, I've got to get them to share this story because it's hilarious. I start crying, laughing because I just see it happen. I see him coming out the door, stern-faced. No, you're not getting in that car until those doors are put on. And
that's exactly.
I guarantee you, Jake hopped out of that truck and put those doors on quicker than you can shake a stick at too, because he was ready to get down the road and take them back off.
That's right.
But I guess kind of hopping back into you guys' career path, and I'll start with you, Kyle. Just signed a free agent contract with the Texas Rangers. Congratulations on that, first off.
Thank you.
It's probably been kind of rough. I mean, your first year with a new program, new organization, and then the coronavirus kind of hits. But to kind of rewind and go back to your high school days, you were kind of given a great opportunity being drafted out of high school in the 36th round by the Phillies, and then going to Missouri and then getting drafted by the Minnesota Twins, where you were with until this last year in 2019. Kind of going back to when you were with the Twins and going through that minor league process, and even up to when you stood 6 years in the big leagues with them. Adversity hits you in many different ways. Run us through that adversity, whether it was injury, your body feeling well, going through a sickness that you had the last 2 years. Kind of give everybody an idea of what that was like and the path that you took being drafted back in 2009.
Yeah, there's you try to use adversity obviously internally to grow as a person and to grow in as many ways as you can. And then there's going to be different opportunities in life for you to use that adversity to help other people. And I'm sure Jake will get into that. That's what he's really trying to do right now. And whether it was Tommy John in 2011, as I was right in AAA, knocking on the door of the big leagues, thinking I was going to get called up, and then it essentially gets put on hold for a year and a half, or, when our first daughter was born in spring training of 2014, when I'm trying to make the club for the first time and she spends, 10 days or 8 days in the NICU. It's like, there's different things that life presents in front of you. And we all have the ability to decide how we're going to go through it and then decide how we're going to tell that story. And, I think the sickness and the stomach issue that I had last year was something that I learned a lot about myself. And, I think it's going to open a lot of doors for me to hopefully help other people down the road, whether it's through the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation, who actually has one of their biggest arms here in St. Louis where we live now. There's just certain things that I believe God lines up that you can use for good. And that's what we hope to do. And I think, coming through this coronavirus, whether it's whenever baseball starts or whenever we hear a lot of positive stories from people, we're going to have the ability to use this as good. And I hope we're able to do that as a country.
Yep. And I guess sticking with it, and you just hit the coronavirus right on top of the head there. What does that do for you? I mean, one, you've been able to spend so much more time with your family, your kids, and your wife, which I mean is the time that you get to spend with them is priceless. Because just as sure as everybody else, when time spring training hits, the time the season ends in the postseason, it's full blown on the road, not seeing them as much. That's got to mean the world to you. But on a training standpoint, I mean, where does that put you? You're probably blessed enough to be able to have somewhere to throw. You can't have the interaction with people. What is that? What does your training look like?
Yeah, we've got a shed on our property that's about 70 foot long, and we put a net at the end and a mound at the other, and I throw 60 foot 6 inches, and I think I threw a 65 pitch pen yesterday, just trying to keep the arm strength up. So that's kind of how training looks. The extra time with the family has been really nice. I always get to wake up with them, when we're at home, but I don't get to spend most of the afternoons, and I don't get the ability to really be helpful as much as I'd like to. The morning time is always the easiest time, I feel like, with kids. I'm starting to realize that it's that afternoon time when everybody starts to get a little bit tired, a little bit wired, and it can cause a little bit of interesting time. So being able to be around for that has been good and has definitely been a blessing.
That's awesome. Now, Jake, you've went through a ton of different adversity at a totally different level. With Kyle, he's had some injury and faced a different path. For you, Matt, man, if there's anybody that's been through, big league clubs and at different levels, different leagues across different countries in this world, you're the guy. So I guess for those people who may not know you and what's your path, kind of give us an idea, give us a quick take of when JakeFox got drafted in 2003, by the Cubs, and then to where Jake finished his career at. Kind of give us a brief rundown if you can.
Oh, wow. Okay. I'm going to still throw you a statistic. 1 year of my career, I lived at 9 different addresses in 7 different cities in 2 different countries. And this was in 1 calendar year. So I can say my journey has been an interesting one, because I always feel like maybe that's just me, the way I played with a chip on my shoulder. I've always felt like I was fighting an uphill battle. I felt like I always had to prove people at every level I went to that I'd belong there and that I deserved to be there. And maybe I always had to prove it to myself. I don't think I ever had a red carpet rolled out for me. And so I felt like every year I showed up, I had to show up and prove myself, prove to the people that I belong there. And I think the hardest part about my career was I had to earn, well, not the hardest, but the greatest part and the hardest part was I had to earn every step of the way. Even the year I got called up, and I'm going to throw this was in 2009. So I made my debut in 2007, but when I got called up in 2009, the club had no intention of ever bringing me to the team. But it took me to go to AAA that year in 2009 in Des Moines, Iowa, where in the first 6 weeks of season, 42 games, like basically the first 42 games, I was batting .450 with 17 and 53. And even then, the Cubs called me up and the GM brought me in and said, look, I don't really have any room for you, but I just can't leave you there anymore. So it was never a time in my career where I ever thought things got easier for me. That's why I always felt like I was grinding, I was pushing. In that one season that I lived in all those places, a player like me that was always kind of a role player, kind of a guy that filled in here or there, I never was given the opportunity to win an everyday job. So I was either a bat off the bench or I was a backup catcher. And I ended up playing 5 different positions in the big leagues because I was just trying to keep my job anywhere we went. And so I think that year, and the reason I bring that up is I had to play. I was the type of player that had to play in the winter too. I played 10 months out of the year. I played 10 months out of 12. So I would have 1 month off after regular season. I would play 3 months of winter ball. Then I'd have 1 month off after winter ball. Then I'd go right into spring training. And for a player like me, if I didn't get my at-bats during the season, I had to get them in the off season. I had to get my innings in the off season. So that was kind of the grind of my career. And I've played in 4 different countries. I've played at every level you can name in the U.S. I played in independent ball. I played every level of minor league baseball. I played the big leagues. And so I think that really helps me going into my next career because, I'm a coach now with the San Francisco Giants, and I deal with 19 to 23-year-old kids who are at a place in their life where they're confused or they have things at home they have problems with, or a lot of things off the field really that they're dealing with more than the on the field stuff. And I always tell my boss, I'm like, I don't have the degrees to deal with this kind of stuff. And his response always is, well, you have a degree in life. He goes, you've been through the more experiences than even people with those degrees have been through. So you can probably speak to these people from a better position than those people can. So that's kind of been, I guess, a feeling of my career. And I guess that now gives you an idea of why I played the way I did. I've always played with a chip on my shoulder because I felt like I was always fighting that uphill battle.
Yeah, and I think too, and this goes into my next question for both of you. Kyle, I'll ask you first. I mean, when it comes to two guys that have been through life, in a short, like I said, life flashes by like that. I mean, heck, Kyle, you were just drafted. You were just in high school in 2006. Jake, I mean, you're now coaching people that were coaching you at some point in your career in the minor league organization. What has been your biggest, I guess, when you look back on your, last 10 years of your careers, at what point in your life, Kyle, I'll start with you. At what point in your life did you say, there's a bigger picture to this rather than just playing the game of baseball? And I think that a lot of people don't understand that is, whether it's the relationships you make from it, whether it's the hardships you go through, the adversity. But then at a time you wake up and you think, you know what, at the end of the day, once I finish my career, my value is going to be well worth, my knowledge is going to be well worth it than just playing the game of baseball. Would you guys have to agree? And Kyle, I mean, is there a point in your career, maybe it hasn't happened yet, but I mean, the adversity you went through, where was that time frame that you woke up and you said, okay, there's a bigger picture to this?
Yeah, I mean, I think I realized there was a bigger picture when I was in high school, and when I realized that baseball could be taken away, really quickly when I had surgery my freshman year. But I don't think I realized, the purpose behind everything until I was probably, finishing up college and in the realm of thinking that I was going to have a platform to have an impact. Drafted in the first round right away kind of gives you a little bit more recognition and more of a platform. And then as you go through your career and you get to the big leagues and you have a little bit of success, then you have a little bit even more of a platform. So I think it was around those times that I realized that, listen, I'm hopefully going to be offered a few opportunities to help people and to have an impact. And I need to figure out what my purpose is. And because we only have so much time and I only have so much ability to have an impact and to utilize, the platform I have. So trying to figure that out and really hammer down that purpose, I would say probably happened while I was in the minor leagues. And then, as I started getting a little bit more involved in going to the Dominican on our mission trips, that's when I really started to realize, okay, there's a lot of places for me that I can help, and for that Elizabeth and I can have an impact.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. And Jake, same goes with you here. I mean, throw us that time frame where you said you've been all over the country, you've been all over the world playing the game. Was there a point in time in your career where you woke up and not just you've probably had times where you're like, man, should I hang it up now? But you're grinding that chip on your shoulder to prove other people wrong. Probably is what kept you going.
Well, I'm going to say this. First of all, I commend Kyle a lot because we tried to do a charity when I was playing in the minor leagues and all those years, but we were just I was so focused, so driven on what I was trying to accomplish because, again, I was playing 10 months out of the year. I was playing 10 out of 12 months. There just wasn't a lot of time for anything else. And the fact that Kyle can do a lot of the things in the community he's doing, I have a lot of respect for. It wasn't until after I was done playing that I now have the opportunity to do some of the things I've always wanted to do. And I feel very lucky. I'm very fortunate because I was able to walk away from playing on my own terms. Not many players get to do that. So there's still that platform there. And the reason I bring that up is most players, the game tells them they're done. Most players, the game says, hey, you can't play anymore, whether it's you're not good enough, whether you're injuries, whatever. I'm very, very lucky where I get to walk away from the game on my own. And the reason I did that, and I think what Kyle's saying is, I realized that there were more important things to me in my life than playing baseball. And I love to play. Look, don't get me wrong, I love to play baseball. I love the game. I still love being around the game. But there was a summer when my father-in-law took a turn for the worse. He had some cancer. He took a turn for the worse, and we sold everything we had in Arizona. We moved back to Michigan so that we could help him with that process, that whole time period. And so that during that time, I had more job offers to keep playing, and I just had to keep saying, well, I can't do it. My kids need me at home. I think it was the first time in my career, my life, where my priorities were tested. And so I think if you lay those priorities out, when they get tested, you got to stick to those priorities. I think a lot of people say that they have the right priorities, but when push comes to shove, they don't line up with their actions and what they actually do. So in that time, when my wife was helping her dad in and out of the hospital, and I was at home with kids every single day, I realized how much my kids needed me in their life, needed me to be home, and we needed more of a consistent lifestyle. And so fast forward, the hardest thing about being a player is you never know where you're going to be from. Let's not even talk about 1 week to the next, maybe one day to the next. I mean, when you get called up or moved or traded or sent down or whatever, it happens in a moment's notice. It's not like, hey, next week you're going up, next week you're going down. It's, hey, come into the office after the game, you're going down or you're going up. And so the uncertainty, it's just not a stable lifestyle playing professional baseball. So now on this side of it as a coach, I know where I'm going to be. They're going to send me I'm going to be in spring training for a month and a half. They're sending me to Augusta. I'm not going up. I'm not going down. I'm not getting traded. I'm going to be there for 6 months. And so it's easier to coordinate with the family. You can get an apartment. The family can come down for weeks at a time if they need to. And you don't have to worry about showing up to do as much early work or get your lifts in or all that sort of thing. I know that I'm going to be at the stadium, but home games, probably at the stadium 12:30, 1 o'clock. I'll get home at 10 o'clock. Away games are usually easier because I don't have to be there till about 3 o'clock because we don't get the cages until then. So all I have to do is do the early work with the hitters, prepare for the night's pitcher, and then go to the game and then document the games. And so it's much easier lifestyle as a coach because I can spend a lot more time with my family. And that's one thing now being on the side of it. I also think I'm even more challenged as a coach than I was a player. When I played, I had my swing to worry about. I had my defense to worry about. Now I've got 15 swings to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
I have to make sure all 15 of those swings function. So I think knowing in that time, like Kyle's talking about, I knew that there was things that I want to do. I just could never get to them. And now that I actually have the time, I can actually get to those things.
Yeah, and I think that what you just said, like worrying about 15 other people's swings and defense and what they're worried about. Plus, not only that, but also their mental state. Where are they at, when they come to the box? What are they thinking about? And I think I didn't learn this, and I wish I did. And I only got to play, at the college level at Ball State before I decided I need to step away and get my priorities in a row. Learning how to use the mental game to your advantage is head over heels probably the most important and crucial part of it. And you guys probably study mental game more than you probably study the physical part of it. And, not only that, I think you probably enjoy the coaching aspect of it, Jake. And I think, Kyle, you're going to be a phenomenal coach when that time comes down the road, if you decide to. You're probably getting a pretty good benefit out of coaching a little bit more than you're probably playing, or has that not hit yet?
Well, no, it's just different. We laugh all the time because I took a pay cut to become a coach. I laugh because I get paid hundreds of dollars every 2 weeks to coach, where obviously big league minimum is way higher than that, right? But the benefits are great because I still get the same type of health benefits. There's still pension for coaches. I mean, there's still a lot of benefits you have as a coach, and the flexibility of the off season. Like, I don't have to train as hard in the off season as I used to. I now have that time from end of season to spring training. Yeah, I'm diving into a few subjects that I want to learn more about, and I'm trying to get better as a coach, but it's on my time. I don't have to be on anybody else's time. And I think that's the benefit now of being a coach is, yeah, I'm gone for the season, but when I'm home, I'm home. And I don't have to leave and go play winter ball. I don't have to do anything other than prepare myself, get better as a coach, learn the knowledge I need to learn to pass on. And then I've got a few players that I keep track of now in this time. So I just reach out to those players from time to time. Hey, how things going? That sort of thing. But I mean, really, I get, when I'm here at home, I'm with the kids, and we're very lucky because I can do the homeschooling and I can be with them when my wife's working. So it's I feel very fortunate this time that we're in the situation we're in.
Awesome. And I tip my hat to both of you. I mean, family is important. I think all of us understand how important family it is. And we were, thankful enough growing up with a loving and big family, all focused primarily on the baseball side of things. And I think we're all, and I'm going to get into how all three of us kind of tie in together here. I know I'm, 24 years old, and I didn't really grow up too much. I knew of you, Jake, but I never got a chance to realistically be around you. Kyle, I got to see more and be around, and obviously travel and see him in college. But you guys have both brought up Dominican Republic, and I know, Jake, you played in the Dominican Republic. Kyle, you've done some mission work and continue to do great things down south in Dominican. First off, kind of give us a little bit of background of what your kind of mission is down there and what you guys do, because I think a lot of people don't understand and realize, how great we do have it, in America, whether we're playing the game of baseball or not. I mean, right now, people are frustrated because there's no sports going on, but there's bigger issues in the world, rather than just playing the daggone game of baseball. And I think what you guys have done and what you have done in Dominican, Kyle, is head over heels, the main reason why we're on this earth, and it's not just for the game of baseball.
Yeah, I had just been drafted in 2009, and my agent was working with Garrett Anderson at the time, who had donated some money to open up what essentially was a boys and girls club there in a city called Bonagua in the Dominican, just outside of Mocha and the capital, Santiago. And he said, "Hey, we're going down for the grand opening. Do you want to go?" I said, "Sure." I think I'd been to Europe, to play baseball once, but never been to a third world country. So I was like, "Sure." And it was one of the best decisions I ever made. Getting to go down there and to experience something as different as that. Jake can tell you as well. I mean, even the game of baseball is completely different down there. So I mean, to be able to do that, and then that really took us into sponsoring a little girl for the first time in 2012 when we went down there. And we've been sponsoring her ever since, Abigail, and we're able to teach our daughter about her. We're able to teach our daughter about, and our son about, what it means to help people and why the Dominican needs help. And there's a lot of people here that need help also, but, what kind of maybe importance that has and what responsibility we have to do that. So we've been going down there for, ever since 2009, basically almost every year. So 8-9 times. And, it's been a lot of fun, and it's eye-opening every time just to go from where we live and see how they live, but see how much hope they have, because I think that's something we all can learn is, I think the Dominican maybe is the third poorest country in the Caribbean, and they have so much hope. So it's something that we all can learn from when we come from a country that's extremely wealthy, even if you're in the most poor section of it.
Absolutely.
There's hard times everywhere, but man, they have a lot of hope.
Yeah, and like I said, I commend you and for what you and Liz do. The agency that you guys are with as well, and all those involved. I mean, hats off to you, kudos, and keep that up, because that does make a difference. And also, thanks for everything that you do also in our community here in Hancock County. A lot of that's unsaid, and a lot of people, need to know that you're much appreciated, and we really do appreciate everything you do.
So yeah, I'm going to add to what you were talking about being in the Dominican Republic, because I think every culture you go to has something you can take from it. Like every culture has good things and bad things. And I think what's so cool about the Dominican Republic, the people there, they're so happy. They may not have anything, but they're just happy people all the time. And they're never worried about their situation like some of us get worried about our situation.
Mm-hmm.
When I played in Mexico, the people there had so much respect and love for their families. It was so family oriented. But I think that's something you can take from those people. When I played in Korea, people had so much respect for each other. Like I could have taken my wallet out, set it on the curb, gone up to my apartment, grabbed something, come back, and it's either still sitting there or somebody's walking around like, "Hey, is this yours? Is this yours?" And it's just the amount of respect they have for people. So I think what I want to piggyback on is, I think when you have those experiences and you go to these other places, instead of looking at the negative parts of it, if you go in with an idea of what you're going to see, you're probably going to be disappointed because it's like nothing you've ever seen. But if you keep an open mind and you go down and you really look to learn something from these people, there's some good things you could take from being there.
Oh, I 100% agree. And this is, well, I'm going to tie us all in here, three, more Jake than probably Kyle, with Coach Maloney, is my sophomore year. Coach Maloney took our Ball State team. We went down to Dominican Republic for a week over Thanksgiving break, and got to play some baseball. But main concern or main reason why we're down there was to do some mission work. Going to some of these communities, and just the way that people drove down the road was just different. It's not just your typical concrete road. It's not, it's dirt roads. And then, we took a route off the path to this village, and we went and brought food and fed the village, and then played a game of wiffle ball with them. I mean, just seeing the absolute joy on the kid's face, not just to get food, but also just to play wiffle ball with people that they've never seen before. It was just an experience that I'll never forget. And then going, later that evening, the first night we were there, going to see a professional game, in a professional Dominican game in a stadium that is sold out. I mean, I've never been to a facility or a stadium where I've seen the most electric crowd ever. And Jake, you can probably, relate to this, obviously. I mean, that is probably an experience you'll never forget.
Well, I told first of all, I'm going to say this. I say in the Dominican Republic, I joke around a lot saying traffic laws are a mere suggestion. Basically, you can do whatever you want. They just suggest that you might want to stop here, but you don't have to, right? I mean, you get down there, it's amazing how some of those people drive. But talking about the games you're talking about, my mom and dad and my brother came down one year when I was playing down there, and we were playing against our rivals. So it was Santiago, which was Aguilas, versus Licey. We were in Santo Domingo, and they came to the game, and the games are so loud. I was literally catching a game, and I would catch a pitch, and I couldn't hear what the umpire said. So I would say, "Hey, what did you just call it?" He goes, "I called it a ball. You got a problem with that?" And I'm like, "Well, no, man. I just couldn't hear you. You're like 2 feet behind me. You're like a foot and a half behind me. I can't hear you." They got band sticks. They got bands playing. They got whistles blowing. They got cheerleaders on the. I mean, it's chaos. I mean, if you can picture just a stadium in chaos, people it's like the soccer games, people jumping around, waving flags, blowing whistles, blowing horns, whatever they use to make noise. That's what happens. And you leave those games and your ears are ringing for like the next hour and a half because those stadiums get so loud.
They do. And I couldn't believe it. We played the day before, or the day after, excuse me, we played, I think, would you say it was Licey?
Licey, yep.
Licey. We played Licey's team that next day on the field where we were just at the night before. I mean, everybody was belligerent. Everybody was, you see cheerleaders on the grass dancing in between innings. I'm like, what is this? But then playing in the stadium is complete empty. I mean, complete empty. It's actually a YouTube video. During the game, I wasn't pitching. If I was going in to pitch that game, I probably would have been screwed. But I was wearing this GoPro, and you could just see this GoPro, and I turned around, and there was nobody in the stadium. And I was like, I can't even step on this field and even think about playing a game right now because I saw the electricity in this place last night. It wasn't even the same. It wasn't even the same. But it was such a cool experience, and I thank Coach Maloney for that, and I thank Coach Maloney for a lot of things. And kind of, for anybody out there, Coach Maloney, was one of Jake's college coaches. His 2003 was Coach Maloney's first year at Michigan. He recruited Kyle, and so Kyle decided to go to another place started with an M. In Missouri, and then he coached me at Ball State. Jake, I don't know if I told you this, but I actually had a conversation with Coach Maloney earlier this morning. Because like I said, I knew a little bit about you, but I kind of wanted to get a little bit of insight. He shared a pretty cool Dominican Republic story to me. I don't know if you remember, but him and his son Alex came down there for a mission trip. If you have enough insight to kind of replace that story for everybody?
So yeah, Coach calls me. He sent me a message like, "Hey, we're going to be in the Dominican Republic. Where you at? Is there a chance we can meet up, maybe catch up?" And it's just like Coach Maloney does. That's just Coach Maloney fashion, right? He's always thinking about, who can I see? Who can I spend time with? Who can I catch up with? So he knew I was down there, and we happened to be staying at the same hotel. Okay, so I go, "Coach, you're coming to a game. You need to see this." I'm like, I don't think you haven't seen a baseball game until you watch a baseball game there. So he's like, "Jake, I don't know. I don't really want to venture too far away from the hotel." I'm like, "Coach, look, I got you. I'm going to send," because every team, they have a driver for the import players, right? So he drives his van. He'll come get you. He usually has 2 van times, one for early work and one for normal times. And so in the hotel wasn't that far away from the stadium. So I said, "Look, I'm going to pay my driver a little extra. I'm going to send him back to get you. Right? I'm going to send him back to get you so you can come to the game. He's going to bring you up to the door. I'm going to have the tickets for you. Okay, I'm going to put them in your hand. and then you're going to ride back home with us after the game because I want you to see this. And I know Coach was scared. He was probably nervous because he'd never been out to do something like that. So driver went and got him, brought him to the stadium, came right up to like the players' locker room where they hand you your tickets before the game, and you got to actually physically hand them to whoever you want to have them. As imports, you had all the other guys fighting over tickets because they would always leave a bunch of different tickets, and they knew we never had anybody come to the game. So this is one day people were disappointed because I actually used my tickets, hand them to Coach. He went in, and of course, how old was his son then?
Oh, he had to be.
How old he was?
Oh, he had to have been probably 10, if that.
Right, and it didn't even register me at the time. I played so many games in the Dominican Republic, it didn't even register me. Here's a 10-year-old coming in, watching these girls dancing on the dugout and all this going on. I'm just like, okay. So, I mean, and if you haven't, you might want to Google this. You might want to YouTube this, Google it, whatever. The dancers in the Dominican Republic, let's just say they don't leave much up to the imagination. Okay, so they're getting tight outfits, wearing pom-poms. I mean, it's not like normal choreographed dances, and it didn't even register to me at the time because it became normal to me and didn't realize it wasn't normal for everybody else. So after the game, I could still see Coach's face and Alex. It was Alex, right?
Yeah.
I could still see Alex's face, and they were just in awe, like mesmerized. And I still, Coach gives me a hard time about that all the time because I brought his 10-year-old son into this baseball game where they were basically exotic dancers on the dugout. I mean, in a roundabout way.
And then not only that, is that when they got back onto the bus on the way home back to the hotel, I mean, they're walking onto a bus where probably the bus driver's probably in a bulletproof case. Yeah. Everybody's probably got guns on their hips. I mean, just because it's not a safe area if you're not within your compounds or even in the facility. So that, as a 10-year-old, you're probably, I mean, I know I would be sitting with my arms crossed and, underneath the seat, scared of my life, let alone just seeing what I saw with my eyes at 10 years old in the baseball field.
Well, I do have to say this. You are safer than you think you are because Dominicans, they need tourism. They need to drive their economy. So they don't mess with a lot of import. They don't mess with a lot of foreigners. Unfortunately, it's a lot within their own culture that there's a lot of that parts that aren't safe. So obviously you don't want to be dumb and be walking down a dark alley in the middle of the night, but at the same time, for the most part, generally you're pretty safe, especially in Santo Domingo. Yeah.
Now Kyle, going back to your college career at the University of Missouri, and I want to dive in this just a little bit because I've realized at playing the college level how important summer baseball was. And Jake, you played in the Cape Cod League as well, and Kyle, you did as well with Falmouth. I'm not 100% sure who you play with, Jake, but Kyle, take us back to that experience, and you're still have a really good relationship with your host family. That's probably some of the best years of your life playing baseball.
Yeah, the Cape was a pretty special summer. Summer after my freshman year, had a roommate, Joey Wong, that I got along with really well and still text with every now and then. But I don't know that I could have gotten a better host family. Deb and Steve Broccobank have absolutely been a big part of our lives. They still send us a Danbury mint gold ornament from the Cape every Christmas that we hang on our tree.
That's awesome.
I guess now we probably have 10 or 12 of them. And every year Miss Hayden here helps us put them up, and we get all of them on our tree. And they just have been really special to us. And it's a situation where they don't have any kids, so they treat all of their Cape Cod summer boys as their kids. Birthday cards, they came to our wedding. They've been to basically almost every year they come and see us. If it's not in Boston, they come and see us. So it was a really special summer to be in the Cape, and we had a really good team. So it was a lot of fun.
Jake, what was your experience like? I know, like I said, didn't know much about it, didn't know who you played with there, but kind of give us a rundown of that.
So I played for YD, and I also lived with the host family. They were awesome. Like you, came to our wedding. They were just very generous people, great people. And like you, we still, it's not like we talk to them all the time, but we still hear from them, 2 or 3 times a year just to catch up, see how things are going. But that experience for me was kind of a blur for me because at the time when I was playing out there, I was working 2 jobs and playing because I couldn't afford to be out there if I wasn't working 2 jobs. So I would do the camps in the morning for the team, and then my host dad, he owned a collision repair center. I would go work at the collision repair center like middle afternoon, and then I'd go play a game in the evening. So that was kind of a blur for me. Those were some difficult days, but I had a blast out there. I loved it. My mom and dad came out to visit me a few times. They loved it. I mean, that's just a phenomenal league. They do a great job. And it's just a great experience. If you ever get that opportunity to go out there and play, it's a great experience out there.
I did just see they shut down the league for the summer too, so that puts a lot of college guys in a tough battle, especially for those that were anticipating going to play out there. This time it should actually put a lot of people in a tough spot, and I think that's kind of where my next question is here. I got a couple more things, and I'll let you guys both go. So Jake, I know you got something going on here shortly. But for kids now that are going through what they're going through, whether they're, ages, 12 all the way up to a guy, maybe as a fifth-year senior looking to have a good spring, give himself a chance to get drafted or picked up as a free agent somewhere, play independent league ball, or a high school player, looking to, have a good summer to get seen to play at the next level. I guess starting with you, Jake, got any piece of advice to kind of give those kids and to give those players, moving forward during this pandemic?
Yes, actually. I think that's a phenomenal question because I think we got some guys that are looking at it differently than they should be. For me, in my career, whenever I've been faced with adversity, or I've been a hurdle in front of me, I've always tried to find a way, not just to get over it, but fly past it. And I think people are looking at it and sulking and say, man, we're not playing baseball right now. I'm not getting seen right now. And they're sulking over it rather than using this time to separate themselves from the other guys that are sulking. To me, I think the mentality should be, okay, now I have time to really clean up my game, clean up my skills, because not everybody else is working on. They're probably sitting on their couch playing video games, or they've forgotten about baseball. But this is a great time where you can pass up some of the guys that are ahead of you. Let's be honest, there's always somebody out there better than you. So if you're not working to be the best, then maybe your just heart's not in it the way it should be. But I think this is a great time right now where guys can really be passing over some of the talent that's ahead of them, because all it takes is, like Kyle, he was talking about him in his backyard throwing into a net. It doesn't take much to get better, whether it's your physical conditioning, whether it's your swing or your arm or your fielding, or take your pick. Be realistic with yourself and figure out what you need to work on in your game and get after it, because most kids aren't right now. Most guys are just sitting at home and letting the time pass them by.
Hold on a second. Did you just say – I'm going to reiterate this. Did you just say there's a big league guy getting on the mound and throwing into a net by himself?
He said that. I didn't say that. He did.
He said that. You reiterated it. The exact point proven, done. Guys, there's no excuse. None. And the reason why I'm saying this right now is because I coach a group of 17-year-olds, got a really, really talented group, big summer, and they've done a good job. But the amount of people you hear complain, I don't have anyone to play catch with. Okay, grab a bucket of baseballs. And, Jake, I remember my dad and everybody else telling me, JakeFox will be that kid that goes into the batting cage and he hit probably 300 to 400, maybe 500 baseballs a day. Not every other day or not a week, a day, by himself. That to me is probably some of the best advice. You don't have to have anybody to make you better. And Kyle's probably going to go in and saying the same exact thing here, and I'll let him speak before I get on my high horse about it, because it's just super frustrating. But Kyle, I guess with you, what kind of advice you got during this time coming from somebody that's trying to stay getting ready for the season and even almost mid-season form?
Yeah, I think what's really important is keep setting goals and have an end point in mind. So that would be one thing. And to elaborate, I think as a young kid, I didn't really understand goal setting. And, Dad always said, hey, let's set some goals. Well, I don't know that I was really ever good at setting goals and finding ways to achieve them. But now you kind of have to be. I have to have a in time and sight on when I need to be ready. And for me to get ready, I need to have a plan to get ready in these next 3 or 4 weeks whenever we're going to start. So that's part of it, is set goals and come up with a plan that you want to do to get better. And there's a lot of people out there, and this goes for any job. This does not just go for baseball or sports. This is life. Have some things in life that you want to use and that you want to use this time for and do. So I think that's the one thing. And I think the other thing is, when it comes to specifically to baseball, is that little things, and it's just little differences that make a huge difference in the grand scheme of things. The difference between a D1 player and a D2 player probably is not nearly as big as people think. The difference between a AAA player and a big league player is not near the difference that people think. So let's understand that the little things that you can do can change things in a big way, and that goes for any job. I mean, I think, Jake hit on earlier. Just try to get better. Try to use each day to pick something that you want to get better at, or that you want to be intentional about, because being intentional is going to be a big part about it as well.
Yeah, and I think when you say making goals, and Jake, I'll let you kind of reiterate this, there's probably a pretty big difference between, having a dream goal or maybe setting probably achievable ones. Not just going out there and saying, hey, I'm going to be a Division I baseball player and I'm 13 years old. Okay, that's a good goal to have. What are those goals in between that's going to help me achieve those goals, right?
So I'm going to take it and say this. I think you hear people talking about how good they want to be and where they want to end. And at the end of the day, they don't know how much work it's going to take to actually get there. And if you look at that chunk of work as a whole, you're going to be overwhelmed. But like Kyle's saying, pick out something small each day that you can get better at. And at the end of it, now, if I get better at, and I talked on one of our podcasts, we talked to a guy that said he has a checklist of things that he checks off. Okay, today I'm going to get better at this. And I'm going to figure out how I'm going to do this. So that now, before I move on to the next one, now I've already mastered that. And maybe have your checklist of things you want to get better at or you want to improve at, so that it's not so overwhelming looking at the whole list as a whole. But if you concentrate on one small thing at a time, then over time, you're going to get that much better each day. And your goal should not be, I'm going to be the best tomorrow. It's going to be, tomorrow I'm going to be better than I was today. And so that now, 3 weeks from now, a month from now maybe we've worked on some of those weaknesses and we filled in some of those holes.
Yeah, and I think too, not only that, but also understanding there's only a certain amount of things you can control. If you can control, and this is a Coach Maloney saying 100%, control the controllables. You show up every single day and control 4 things. And this is kind of what my Mitch Gibson brand I'm trying to establish with not only just the guys that I coach, but also the people that I surround myself in the business and the community. You can control passion, enthusiasm, attitude, and effort. No questions asked, 4 things day in and day out, whether it's your job, whether it's on the baseball field, whether it's being a husband, whether it's being a wife, whether it's being a father. You control those 4 things, no questions asked. Life's going to succeed the way you probably want it to be, whether or not it's rough right this second. And 1%, I love the whole, it's so cliche, 1% every day. Find something to get better at 1% each day. And I think when you look at it, there's 2 guys in this picture, you and Kyle, that probably have some of the hardest working work ethic that I've seen. And when it comes to, younger age groups and people that are, growing right now and to be athletes as baseball players, or just, in general, I think a lot of people need to look up what you guys have done and kind of hear the path that you guys have, taken. And I appreciate you guys taking that time to do so, because it is, it helped me. There's times where you get tired and just know, JakeFox is in the cage, swinging, hitting 500 balls off the tee today. Or Kyle Gibson's out, working on his game. I know Kyle would like to be a little bit better hitter than what he, came out to be at some points in time. But, we all can't be, great at everything. So like I said, I think that means a lot. And, a lot of people, a lot of younger kids need to take that advice from what you guys have done and hear that from you. So that is much appreciated. Last thing here, I actually, one more thing after this. Jake, you still got the swing? You still got it? Could you go out and hit right now?
I'll tell you a story, because every year of my team, the guys I had, they call me out. They're like, "Oh, Fox, you can't still do it. Fox, you're too old now. You're too gray. You're too fat. Yeah, they always have a reason, right? They always have some kind of reason to give me a hard time why I still can't hit. And every year I show up somebody, right? And we always have at the end of my BP, because I try and get them to focus in on one pitch, one swing, just like they're stepping in a box, right? Because I think BP gets too monotonous where it's just swing, 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 swing. So I always have a long ball challenge, right? And I have this whole lead into it. But anyway, you get in there, you have one swing to hit it as far as you can. And the 2 guys that don't hit it the furthest, they pick up all the balls in the cage. And everybody else can be done. And so somebody's always talking trash. And it was my first year. We're in Vancouver. And they were stretching down the right field line. I told one of our assistant coaches, I said, "Hey, get up there behind the screen, because the home team's done, and I found a good bat. Throw me one. First pitch, whack, rattling around up in the bleachers, up in left field, and of course everybody just turns around. Of course I drop the bat and just walk out. And of course I yell out there, me being me, it's not that hard. Get in there. It's not that hard. Of course, they all just start dying laughing. But
Jake,
every year somebody always challenges me.
funny you say that because Coach brought this up, and this was like a while ago, back in my freshman year, when he kind of put 2 and 2 together. He said there was a time at Michigan you came back to hit, just take BP. And does it kind of sound familiar when I'm going out here? And you had a group of guys get around the cage. Kyle, I don't know if you've heard this, but Coach said that Jake got in the cage and was like, "Hey, Coach, have a couple of guys watch around and watch me hit real quick." And he's, got turtle shell on the field, and he's hitting live BP. And he goes, "I want to show him a couple of things." And next thing you know, Coach goes, I walk over and I hear guys that are Jake asking the guys, "Where do you want this ball hit?" Over the left field fence, over the scoreboard. Boom. Jake, he said he hit probably 6 or 7 consecutively, exactly where these kids wanted to see the ball hit. And that doesn't surprise me one bit because that dude he's got absolute power, unbelievable power.
See, Kyle, these stories keep getting embellished more and more every time I hear them, right? Just like taking 500
maybe a little
swings.
bit, but I mean, yeah, maybe a little bit, but it's okay. It's all pretty good.
Well, I appreciate that. If we keep these stories up, I'm going to be superhuman by the end of it.
That's awesome.
Chuck Norris won't have anything on me if we keep these stories going.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
Last thing here, kind of to wrap it up and let you guys get back to your daily lives. Kyle, you've been back probably to Hancock County or Greenfield more. I don't know, Jake, and I'm going to ask you this question, but there's a place you're going to go have a bite to eat in Greenfield. I ask everybody this question when they come on the show. Is there a spot or a item at a restaurant that you've got to have?
There's 2 things. One, and we try to have it about every time that I'm in town. The sausage and pepperoni pizza from Mozzie's Pizza. I think it's probably maybe my favorite pizza. I really like it, really enjoy it. But the other thing is it's now the mug, I believe. But when I was a kid, Mitch, I remember, and you remember too, like Grandma Gibson and Grandpa, they still live a couple blocks away. And we'd walk down there and get a root beer float. So if I can get a root beer float and a pizza, that'd be great.
Phenomenal. We just ate the mug the other day. Still good.
I am so disappointed in you, Kyle. You think that Mozzie's Pizza is better than Chicago's pizza?
Oh, barring none.
Oh, Chicago's is
Oh, man.
That place, you go there, a pizza and their breadsticks with that like plastic cheese they serve is amazing. All right? I don't know. You ever get that cheese dipping sauce? It doesn't get any better than that. I think.
But you know what? I mean, I don't know. The Chicago started to have a buffet toward the end of high school, but that Mozzie's buffet, oh man,
there's nothing better. Nothing better. Have you had Hometown Classic Pizza?
Yep, I have.
No,
it's pretty good too.
Jake, that's a good one for you to try. It's fairly new, and it's a fresh. It's a pretty cool atmosphere to go in and eat. If you're gonna go eat, then I'd go in and eat if you come into town. Pretty cool atmosphere there. So, Jake, kind of to pop off before we leave here, Jake, kind of give us a little bit about the Fox Code and what you got going on there, and where can people listen to your awesome podcast?
Well, okay. Well, like you, started a lifestyle brand. When I started, didn't really have any direction, but I think this time off that we have gave me a chance to really do something that's always been in my passion. Is I'm trying to take this time where we're all struggling and sitting in our homes, and like I said, where guys are sulking or feeling sorry for themselves. I want to do something good with our time. So I've always, like Kyle, I went to school for communications, and I've always wanted to start something where I could start giving back to guys about what I've learned about my experiences. So we've created a podcast spinning off of the lifestyle brand that dives into a lot of the mental side of baseball, because all the podcasts out there right now are all physical skills, like the spin rates and launch angles and all that. Well, we can sit and talk about that. I think something that's missed, and where me and my business partner saw a need, is I think the daily grind and the hurdles and the adversity, how to overcome those, gets overlooked. And so we really have, what we've done is we started highlighting right now different Major League Baseball players. We're talking about their journey and their story and some of the hurdles they've overcome. We've had Kyle on, and he was awesome. And he talked about some of those hurdles he overcame in his career, what helped him through it, and any advice he could give to young players about how to get through some of the things they're going through. So without giving away too much information, we've had some phenomenal guests on. We're going to continue to have some guests on. We got our first NFL player coming up soon. We also interviewed the host of American Ninja Warrior. That was a really fun one, just talking about his journey. So if you're looking for more of that mental side, that side that I guess, gets overlooked a lot of times. I think you really want to listen in and tune into what we're doing, because I think we had no idea what we were doing when we started. So our first couple are not great, but we're getting a lot better. And I think we're continuing to do like talk the talk, because just like when you start anything, you're not going to be great to start with. So you got to figure out the ins and outs, overcome the adversity, and we're doing that. I think it's fun to see the parallels with our message to how we're going about our podcast. So check it out. It's on iTunes right now. It will be on Google Play soon, I think. It's under the Fox code No Chaser. So if you just type in the Fox code No Chaser, or you can go to our Instagram page. There's always a link on our Instagram page, which is the Fox code.
Yep, and I'll put all that description in the bio here in the comment section, so everybody can see that, and go give it a follow. If you're baseball people or just a baseball fanatic, go listen to it. It's got a lot of great stuff, good episodes, and most recently Kyle was on his show, which kind of made me eavesdrop and say, hey, Kyle, let's get Jake on here and see what we can put together as well. But great both individuals here, great role models and mentors for the Hancock County community. Kyle, before we pop off, anything that you guys are working on, any mission work, any type of organization that you guys are doing right now that can give any information out to the community to help out?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of it's been put on hold a little bit. Normally we do some stuff during the year with Big League Impact and Adam Wainwright's charity. But I think there's going to be some stuff coming up, assuming we're going to have a season here. And one thing we're going to try to do in the fall is having the sporting clay shoot. So we'll get some information about that. But if you like to shoot sporting clays and have a little fun walking around and doing that, come on down, because it's going to be a fun time. Big League Blast, we did it the fall of 2018 and had a blast. So we're looking forward to doing that again this year. So Jake, I see that that's something you want to do. I'll make sure you have that information so you guys can come on down and have a little bit of fun, because it was great.
I've never shot a gun before, so I may blow my arm.
You
out
need to
of
stay
socket.
home.
Maybe it's
all right. It's
maybe
fun.
a good
It's
video.
super
Maybe
easy.
it brings
It's
some
fun.
good content. Maybe I go viral.
Maybe.
Something. Make me famous.
And who doesn't like to blow things up, right? I mean, that's just
exactly
what
right.
guys like to do.
Yeah, that's exactly
awesome.
right. It's
Well, I
a lot of
appreciate
fun.
it. Maybe one day, when Kyle's in town, maybe we can. Jake, if that time ever comes, we can get Kyle on the mount at Greenfield and get Jake in the box and see if Jake still got it and can put it over the field house in the center field.
Of all the time that we've known each other, it's never happened. It's kind of crazy that it's never. We talked about it so often, but it's never happened. So we need to make it happen.
What about we could do a charity case with it? That'd be great. I'll set it all up. You guys should show up.
More importantly, we need to have the pizza off challenge between Mozzie's and Chicago's. I mean, more importantly, right? Because I'm a few years removed. I think we all know who's going to win that baseball challenge, but I don't know about the pizza challenge, the pizza eating challenge. Let's go with the pizza eating challenge. Nobody's going to hang with me on that one.
No shot. Well, gentlemen, appreciate it.
I was going to say, have you seen how skinny he is? No chance he could beat me in a pizza eating contest.
Yeah, you might be right. I don't know. You give me enough sausage and pepperoni, I'm in.
Hayden, what's your favorite type of pizza?
Well, here, it's kind of Guffey's, because I actually really like it.
Yeah, we have a place close to the house called Guffey's that we get quite a bit. So Guffey's
cheese, pepperoni, sauces. Are you a cheese eater?
Yeah.
You like pepperoni though, don't you?
Yeah. And my favorite one is kind of my mom's homemade pizza.
That's right. Mama's homemade pepperoni.
That's awesome.
She's brown nosing. She's sitting there brown nosing, talking about Mama's pizza. That's good. You taught her well, man. That's good. So also, Kyle,
that's right.
when we get out to Arizona, speaking of pizza, one of our family favorite pizzas is Oregano's Pizza out in Arizona. I don't know if you've eaten out there or not, but when we get out to Arizona, well, of course, because you've been in Florida the whole time, but now you're out in Arizona. So my treat, I'm taking you to Oregano's because that's our favorite pizza.
Sounds good. We're in.
Awesome. Well, gentlemen, once again, thanks for joining us. Go check out, Jake's the Fox Code podcast. A lot of great stuff in the middle game of baseball. Keep following Kyle on Twitter. I think it's at KGib44, and then go follow the Fox Code on Instagram and follow everything that he's got going on. A lot of great things that they're both doing in the community and in the baseball world, and good mentors, and are always very engaging and are up to conversation. So once again, gentlemen, appreciate your time and efforts. Greenfield, don't forget to go like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Go follow us on Instagram and Facebook. And always remember that you can make a difference in someone's life today. Take care. Have a good rest of your day. And we'll see you soon. Thanks, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.